What's up guys, Andrew here for Simply Sports. So since the 2019 NFL Draft is now behind us, I want to give some of my analysis on some of the teams that drafted and some of the moves I liked and others that I didn't like so much. Drafting in my eyes at the NFL level is all about best player available, but also making that fit within your team constructs. And what I mean by that is teams are constantly looking for identities. You need to strengthen your strength at the NFL level, but you also need to cover up for your weaknesses. Well, I know that some analysts like Pro Football Focus really like the Cardinals draft because they drafted Byron Murphy, the corner out of Washington, really highly graded corner. They got Hakeem Butler, Andy Isabella was an absolute gem that they liked, and Zach Allen among others. They really like the Cardinals draft, but I do have some fundamental problems with it. So if you watched the Cardinals at any point last season or had any of their players in fantasy, I personally had David Johnson in fantasy, you'd know that their line was one of the biggest problems of the team. They didn't get any push up front. They were just, I personally thought they were going to be in the lower third of the league, and they ended up probably being the worst unit in all of football. It was just a huge reason why Josh Rosen was not going to succeed there. He's not a particularly mobile quarterback, and he's kind of the opposite of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray gets out, he runs, he can evade pressure much easier, he's extremely nimble, extremely fast, and he's just a different type of player than Rosen. And I personally like Kyler a lot more than Rosen, especially in the offense that Cliff Kingsbury is going to run. The thing with Kyler, and I personally think that he is bar none the best quarterback this year. I think that he's truly special in the way that he can throw and run. I just think that the question is, he's never been truly under siege. He's never been pressured at the rates that I think he's about to be pressured at. Because in high school and in college, like, his line at Oklahoma was awesome. Like, it's basically filled with NFL players, and of so much of the tape is just him just kind of sitting back there and patting the ball. And he'll dodge defenders when he needs to. I think that as a quarterback prospect, size excluded, he's an absolutely amazing prospect. Like, he deserved to go number one. While the Cardinals did in fact address a lot of their receiver needs and corner needs and really bolstered their passing attack, they just completely neglected their line until late in the round. They didn't draft an O-lineman until the 6th round. And I view this as a particular risk because you're putting a first-year quarterback, a guy who, in Kyler Murray, weighed 207 pounds at the combine. But he's not playing at 207 pounds. Like, he bulked up to get to that 207. He's 5'9", he's probably 195, 200 pounds, soaking wet. This year's going to be a little rough if their O-line just doesn't get him there. And they're not going to be fully able to use the guys like Andy Isabella and Hakeem Butler and Christian Kirk and those weapons. I think they're just throwing the same problem back out there, and it just kind of goes against my overall draft philosophy. Overall, I'd say the Cardinals had a good draft, but their team has serious holes with it, and those holes could be extremely detrimental to the future of their number one asset, and that being Kyler Murray. Now on to the Jets. So, if you've seen my Quinnen Williams versus Nick Bosa video, I mentioned in that video that I thought that Quinnen Williams was hands down, the best player in the draft this year. I thought he was super technically refined. I thought he had really special athleticism, maybe not to the Khalil Mack, Von Miller level, but he's a freak nonetheless. He ran the combine at 4.83 at 303 pounds. And he's so agile and he's so in control of his movements that I just personally love him. I know that the Jets needed more second rounders, but I'm fine that they didn't have to trade down and they just took the best player in the draft. They did take some gambles in the 3rd round that are kind of wait and see prospects. Chuma Edoga, the offensive lineman from USC, and Jachai Polite both had some questionable character issues, but they're both naturally agile athletes, and they're kind of boomer bust prospects, which I'm okay with doing in the 3rd round, especially with a rebuilding team. I would like to see them draft more secondary players, but this is clearly year 2 in a long rebuild. The Broncos were one of my favorite teams this year's draft, so they drafted Drew Lock somehow 30 spots later than Daniel Jones, and they also added, with a nice trade in the 1st round, they got out of the 10th pick and took Noah Fant with the 20th selection. And in the 2nd round, they used that pick that they got from the Pittsburgh trade to draft Dalton Risner, who's kind of just this versatile offensive lineman who you could probably plug and play at various spots along the O-line. I thought they had good value in the top half of their draft, and they got value in this trade. As a Bills fan myself, I was personally really happy with their draft. I think that Ed Oliver was one of the best players in the draft. Just the tier below, a little bit below the Nick Bosas and the Quinnen Williams of the world. I thought that Ed Oliver at 9 was an incredible selection. I thought that Cody Ford kind of fell into their lap. And I think that Dawson Knox is kind of an underrated tight end who just wasn't utilized the way he should have been in Ole Miss's offense. Onto the Titans. So the Titans, I love their draft. I think that their draft was one of the best, if not the best, in the entire NFL. So you get Jeffrey Stinmans, who, if he didn't have his baggage, was going to be a top 10 pick. Some people thought was a top 5 talent in the draft. An absolutely stud defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. You get him at 19. And then at 51, they picked up A.J. Brown, who I thought was a first-round receiver through and through. I personally thought he was better than N'Keal Harry because he can just get open. There's guys who can get open, there's guys who can't. And I think that Brown was just one of those guys he's got a knack for getting open. And I think that that's valuable in today's NFL. And they drafted Nate Davis, a promising guard. And I personally just love what they're building in Tennessee. I think that the Pats did one of the best jobs in the draft, just bar none. They're building their team with physicality, and they started this trend last year when they picked up Sony Michel and Isaiah Wynn in the first round. And they showed that on their Super Bowl run, they were a physical team. They were going to run it down your throat, and they were going to stifle you at the line of scrimmage on the defensive side. So they continue to build their team identity, that identity being that they're just a physical football team when the rest of the league is going to be more of a finesse league. By picking up N'Keal Harry, physical, tough wide receiver. Picking up Jawan Williams. He's a 6'4 corner. He can cover tight ends. He can play in their system. Chase Winovich, I have no idea how he fell to 77. They picked up Jared Stidham. They picked up project offensive linemen who are going to be coached every day by their stud offensive line coach, Dante Scarnecchia. When everyone else zigs, Belichick zags. He's drafting physical players as the league is becoming increasingly finesse, but he's still putting a lot of resources into his secondary to complete his defense and really build one of the best units in football. They're going to be a force this year, and as a Bills fan, I'm not too happy. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like or a comment in the comment section, and subscribe for future content. I won't be posting probably until after finals, which is, I get out May 10th. So I'll have some more content more regularly. Then I'm just kind of in school, final stretch. But yeah, I'll post some more content. I'll probably go back to the draft recap, but I also kind of want to get in some like basketball analysis. That's kind of my secondary sport. But I still have some like kind of just interesting, talking points that I kind of want to share about that. If you guys like the recap, I can kind of keep going, more in depth, kind of go over some more teams, but we'll see when we get there. I will get some more videos out when I'm back. Peace.